What's good, outlaws? This your boy, the True 777. Look, this is smorgasbord today. We got a lot to talk about, or I got a lot that I want to talk to y'all about, and I want y'all to go ahead and throw them comments in. I'm trying to have a full-blown conversation in the comment section. So before I get this ball rolling, let me just say this, like as I always do. Let me give a shout out and some respect to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Whether you believe or not, please have an amazing day. Bottom line. Bottom line, you know what I'm saying? You want to come on here and yell at me, do your thing. Now let's get to this. Check this out. Light of Motiram, something of that nature. The new Tencent copy slash ripoff of Horizon looks amazing. For me, I'm like, yo, that joint look dope. PlayStation. We have a problem, and when I say we, I mean you. You have a problem. You have a problem because that game looks fire, and we know that you're coming out with a Horizon online multiplayer, but from them pictures it looks like it's going to be within that Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox looking type style to kind of be relatable to everyone. And hopefully it doesn't have like that goofy Fortnite chop like thing, but it feels like it kind of might be within that vein so that everybody can kind of get in and get out. And it's not a good look considering that I'm now seeing like a Motiram or whatever it's called, the new Tencent copycat. I want to be very clear about this. I do not condone people stealing people's work, okay? But I also don't care. When Power World came out, I didn't care. I didn't feel like they were, because when you see the gameplay, it's just so drastically different from Pokemon. I just felt like it's different. I did was like, dang, they ain't have to steal or have the pals or whatever they call be so close looking to like you can tell that they just kind of almost copy one for one what the Pokemons look like. And like at least Tim put some work into having some variancies while having some similar looking, but never close like how the pals look. At least Digimon, who was the first to the scene, if I'm not mistaken, and then Yo Car Watch or some anime, maybe that was later, I don't know. But I know Digimon was first, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Digimon never looked anything like Pokemon, you know what I'm saying? And then there's a bunch of other games that follow the whole Pokemon formula and like have things that look like they're Pokemon, but they're not. But man, the Power World was like, ugh, the pals look very, very eerily similar, and some of the gym leaders or the people bosses or whatever look eerily similar to what Pokemon is. Outside of that, the game is drastically different. It's like a survival type. I don't know what to call it. You get what I'm saying. And with that, this Horizon, so since they didn't come out with the online version yet, the Lights of Motiram looks different, right? So, or it's different. Even if they come out with the date, they're coming out with it first. So even though they're still in assets and visuals and color schemes and tribal things and world views, it's still a drastically different game at this current conjuncture. And as I said, I feel like Horizon Online has going for that Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft crowd. I can speak. And this is where I have a lot to say. Okay, and I have a lot. I feel like right now Sony is at a crossroads. Bots, you might have had a point. Xbox fans, you might have had a point. No, you had a point. Sony's failed a lot this generation, but they also been successful a lot. This is the first time I feel like Sony has been both sides of the coin, Two-Face style, Batman, where you had the scratches on one side and the clean side, right? It's unmarked, it's unblemished. From PlayStation 1 to 2, they had the unmarked, beautiful, unblemished side. PlayStation 3, they won, but they won on the scratch side. They really did, right? So technically, people will give that generation to Xbox 360. On the math sheets, they lost. But in people's eyes, Xbox won. I'm fine with that. PlayStation 4, they got back to the clean side. And PlayStation 5, they have been spinning. Just spinning. You know how like you take two coins and it just spins until it falls? They have been spinning. So what side they land on, has not been shown, but it's spinning. What do I mean by that? Concord was the biggest failure in gaming history in this respects of a prominent player. People forget there's a lot of companies that came out with consoles and failed within the first week, came out with all kinds of games and they failed, but nobody ever returned money. Okay? And nobody had a bigger name than PlayStation and failed like that. Those companies were startups, things of that nature. So I understand that this is the biggest failure in gaming history and may be of all time, or until somebody takes the crown. And there may not be anybody. I don't care. That's the scarred up side of the coin, right? Jim Ryan has the company spinning. Because while the bots are correct when they say Sony definitely, well, when they say he fired him, no. I'm going to put it like this. We don't know. I will say this. This is my opinion on it. Jim Ryan really did want to retire. And Sony was like, I'm glad you said that. Yes, please retire. That's why I said he was pushed out. Because they was basically like, yo, if you didn't retire, then we was going to fire your ass. It's that simple. What do I mean by that? Almost every decision Jim Ryan made was a good decision and a terrible decision all at the same time. Him forcing them to go multiplayer and try to find some online microtransaction games is a great decision. Sony has to catch up with the times because on that note, they have been behind the times. Forcing his original studios to do so, not so much a great decision. Okay. Being prepared for COVID up front, great decision. Not being prepared coming out of COVID, terrible decision. Buying Bungie and overspending for it, absolute L. Buying Bungie and having that clause, and I'm gonna let y'all know, feel how you want to feel. Sony understood that Bungie was a mess. Trust me when I say that. I don't have no insiders. Just use your common sense. They put in the clause that if you didn't make this amount of money by this time, we can hostile take over your company. They knew they couldn't get Bungie to sign on without them being independent. But they also understood because they look at the financials and said, their financials is ass. But we want the talent so fucking bad that we're going to legitimately overpay them, which was a terrible decision. Let them hire as much as they want. And if they happen to succeed, we didn't lose. And if they fail, while we'll take a loss up front, we still didn't lose. Bungie is special. They always have been, and they still will be. Bungie is special where their games catch on and they latch on to people. And that will forever be the case, in my opinion. At the same time, Bungie is going to do things that are stupid and people are going to hate them for it. That's kind of Bungie's repertoire. I can't prove what their next games are going to be. What I can say is, just if you're looking at it, Sony kind of didn't want them to fail, but they were prepared for when they did. If you paid attention, Jim Ryan overpaid for him. That's an L. That's an L. That's not good negotiating, right? He let them be independent, but he had that contract in where it's like, yo, you don't make this amount of money by this time, we gonna hostile take over your company. Sony is now in full control of Bungie. They should have got rid of the leaders because a lot of the people legitimately are in agreement that the leaders were terrible, but they didn't. They're like, well, you can stay here, but you don't really have any say anymore, okay? And they probably will X them out sooner than later. Who knows? I don't know. That part I don't know. They might stay there forever. Who knows? Whatever. But the bottom line is, Bungie now they have to, when they do stuff, they have to go through Sony. Sony already cleaned it up. Hey, what did Sony do as soon as they did their first takeover? They immediately moved one game that they thought was going to be fire and that team over to Sony, under Sony's tutelage, and it's a mobile game. They've been trying to get into the mobile, right? And then Right behind that, took one of their projects nobody knows about and that whole team and moved them under Sony's tutelage, right? And that stuff happened so quick. So don't tell me Sony didn't have like a plan. He was like, yo, this joint going left. We already know what we want to do. And shortly after, not as quickly, they made this whole huge online team that is now the support team of all online games from whichever studio. Wow, cleaning up Bungie and then saying Destiny 2 was supposed to go the way of Dodo Birds, and they did not. They was like, nope, Destiny 2 is still in. We got this team for Destiny 2, and now we have this team for Marathon, which, no jokingly, I think is going to be a hit because it's Bungie. I truly do believe that, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably right. I don't think it's going to be like Grand Theft Auto or anything. I'll be happy if it was. I wouldn't care either or way. But I will say that I think it's going to be bigger than Helldivers for sure. At least that. Okay? I think Sony knows that and they'll come out on top. Like this will be a historical thing where Sony took an L for overpaying and then come out to be smart for how they did the deal, and then they got the talent of Bungie, right? And whether new people or not, the people that train the new people will have that essence of Bungie from here on out. And that's great. We'll see. I could be wrong. We'll see. Okay. Them making a support studio from Bungie for the whole online thing is just so incredibly Sony. This is another good thing. Jim Ryan, not only, people forget this, yeah, he bought Bungie, but he also bought Valkyrie, a support studio that helps people finish up and polish games who are very good on a multitude of engines. Just like the XDev team, that's Sony's biggest studio. They don't make no games. I think they're making a game now, but most of the time they don't make no games. They just work on, they know all Sony's engines. They know Unreal. They know the other studios. The only one that competes with Unreal. They know that. They know both systems really, know both engines really well while knowing the Decima engine, the Naughty Dog engine. They know everybody's engine really well, and that's their biggest team. I think they got like 1,600 people, 1,700 people. I don't know the exact number. I know it's high. It's a super huge team, and it keeps Sony from having to outsource so much. They still outsource, but they don't have to outsource so much. And they just go everywhere, just doing everything, right? As far as support and polishing games, is why Sony games usually come out really well done with bare minimum bugs for the most part. But they bought Valkyrie too to do that. And then they have another team. It's like they bought another team. So they bought 2 support studios, which I just think is really smart. Sony has been building up these support studios to not have to outsource as much, right? Save them on some money. Now they have the Bungie team, and that's a pretty big team too, that will be outsourced to helping the online with ideas, also with cleaning things up and helping them support the game to continue on. So like if they want to move this person over here, they can use the Bungie online team or the new PlayStation online team to move around to the studios and fill those spots. Pretty smart. Perfect? No. Smart? Yes. And that's what I mean by Jim Ryan. That's some smart moves, right? You won't see that on the balance sheet. You won't see that up front. Nobody's going to care. That's the background stuff, but it's smart. With that being said, right? He also made the decision to buy the Concord team, and that was cost him $10. That's the biggest, most impressive L I've ever seen. Not in a good way. Like, that's wild. And so that mistake in itself, and then I think, like I said, the Naughty Dog, forcing Naughty Dog to do the online when they really didn't want to do it online. And I'm pretty sure it was speculated that, or was told that Naughty Dog was about to buy themselves out of PlayStation if they had to do the online. Bungie coming in there and telling them, like, this probably ain't going to work for you, ain't going to be able to do the things you want unless you drop this online. That saved Naughty Dog from leaving Sony. That saved Naughty Dog from dying off. That saved Naughty Dog from a lot of different things. And that in turn saved Sony. Because that's people that, for most PlayStation fans, that's their best team. I don't really like a lot of Naughty Dog. I beat Uncharted 1, 2, and I have 3, and never played 3 or 4. I own Lost Legacies, never played it. Didn't play the one on PSP. And I tried Last of Us, and I get stuck in the beginning. Not like stuck because I can't play it, but I'm just like kind of bored. Like, it's not really my thing. So I'll never beat any of the Last of Us, and I don't care. Oh, you're not a PlayStation fan. I'm a PlayStation fan because of RPGs, not because of Sony's first party. Sony's first party is like icing on the cake, not the cake. But yeah, most people would agree that that's their best team, right? They're up there with the Take Two Grand Theft Auto team, right? Or 2K, whatever, whoever. And so Jim Ryan made that terrible decision because of Herman Hulst's goofy self. And Herman, I'm not a big fan of Herman. He has a lot to prove to me to fill the shoes of like Shuhei and Andrew and all these other people that came before him. Ken Kukuragi, all of them. I think Herman is a genius at noticing engines and like the technical beauty of games, right? Whether it's artsy or not. I think like he has an eye for visuals. I don't think Herman has a good eye for what's actually fun. If you look at Guerrilla Games, since they've been under Sony, they had Killzone. Killzone is a fun game, but it is not an incredibly fun game, right? A lot of people was like, it's too heavy, it's too slow, it's too heavy on story. And while the gameplay is fun and very gritty and realistic, most people, when they playing, they want that Call of Duty speed blitzing. They want that Battlefield speed blitzing, moving quick, kind of constantly going with the story that isn't so overwhelming and so in the weeds. It's a graphically impressive game. Definitely didn't look like the reveal event by no means, right? But it definitely still looked really good. And then I think they kind of set themselves up by trying to call themselves the Halo killer. That came from them, and they shot themselves in the foot with that. I think if they didn't never say anything about Halo, they probably would have been a little bit better, but not much. And so when you look at that, right, solid game. It's just a solid game, right? Their first successful like IP is Horizon. Amazing game. But now he's running it into the dirt because that's his baby. And he's like the same thing he thought he was going to do with Horizon, that he's trying to do with Horizon and it ain't working. It was the same thing he thought he was going to do with Concord because he doesn't really have a good eye for fun. That's just my opinion, right? And what I mean by fun, I don't mean like the way people complain. I'm saying like he thought Concord was going to be a hit. To be honest, it's a fun game. It has that same Killzone feel where it's like it's polished. It looks graphically impressive. I don't mean the character models. You can hate on that. That's fine. But what I'm saying is graphically, it looked good. It was super clean, super polished. And the gameplay was fun, but people just hated it. It never resonated. Killzone never resonated. Horizon resonated, and then he's running off the mystique and the greatness of Horizon by flooding the world with VR games and Lego versions and an online game. And the online game could be fire, but now Tencent is kind of stealing a lot of your thunder. And that's another thing Jim Ryan did. He took PlayStation from being this exciting place that you can be so excited to see to this minimalist tactic. This, we're not going to talk to anybody. We're not going to respond to anything. Like PlayStation, this is the worst PlayStation's ever been with communication in any facet. Customer care, they ain't never been great at that, but they're progressively getting worse, which is crazy to me. The PlayStation program where you play games and buy games and you get points, they absolutely drop the ball on that as Sony does. When they drop the ball, man, they drop it worse. Security for PlayStation has been always pretty terrible. Yeah, like they're just so many spaces dropped the ball, but the communication became abysmal. When Sony came out the gate, the first showcase was a good showcase, but Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, I played and beat all those games. I love those games, but that wasn't exciting. That was fun, not exciting. Cool, launch titles, not a big deal. Demon Souls, run with it, have your blast. Next thing, you go quite some time, you finally get another conference, and then what do you have? Wolverine. Mind blowing, but no gameplay. And I said this to Cole when he was alive. Like, yo, that game not gonna come out for like 2 or 3 years. And he told me, no, they're gonna come out. And like, I was right, Spider-Man. Like, they're showing games that's not coming out for an extensive amount of time. I was right. Spider-Man ended up being a 2-year delay. And Wolverine was just like, they probably just got the rights to it. That was a blow to me. Like, that shit sucked. But Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon was shown. Dope. While again, I'm super happy. Had a blast with those games. I still have a blast with Gran Turismo. I definitely play Burning Shores still from time to time just to fly around, really. That's not exciting. That's not like, while Horizon's showing some of the power of the PlayStation, don't tell me the PlayStation can't do better than that. You can't. I don't believe it. There's nobody that's going to argue with me on that. You can argue with yourself. Argue with your mama, how they say. We're not at the point of diminishing returns. I don't care what Maximilian Dude or whoever is saying. Like, I don't hold weight to that, because animation and anime and cartoons are keep getting better and better. So that means that gaming can get and look better and better. And to be honest with you, it's showing. Even Ragnarok, like, after I beat it, I platinum it, and then I watched it on YouTube because I just want to see some people react to my favorite parts in the game. I started looking at it, I was like, oh, the character detail is like way better than the original game. And I mean way better. A lot more than I thought. Like, I was like, oh, it definitely looks better for sure, but I didn't think it looked as better. It looks way better. Now, there are some character models in there, like when he goes into the dream and you know who he meets. When you first meet that person, you're like, ooh. Well, at least that's what I was like, ooh, that character model doesn't look like it fits in this game. And then the second dream, way better. If you go compare it even in that game. It was almost like that part wasn't finished. That's just my point. And so with that being the case, we're not at the point of diminishing returns in graphics. So Horizon was to me like the starting point. That Matrix game was like a middling point, and then I wanted to see what they come with at the end. Like I said, Jim Ryan and PlayStation has been making some of the worst moves. Let me be very clear on this, right? A lot of Xbox people running around talking about Sony's copying. Look, I said this in my last video, just a quick overview. You can't copy if you did it first. Sorry. PlayStation Now came out when it was released to the public, not open beta, not closed beta. It was released to the public in 2014. It was a cloud-based streaming service, like all these other services currently, that you can pay $10 a month, play 200 or 300 different games. They never had day and date from the first party. They had day and date one time with Virtual Fighter, which was a third party. I'm understanding of that. And that didn't pan out the way they thought, so they let that go. They were on every screen you could be on, a handheld, a dongle, TVs, smart TVs, laptops and PCs and tablets, no phones. I think it was just, I don't think PlayStation Now ran on phones. Maybe it did. I don't know. I'm pretty sure, but tablets for sure. PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. Everything Xbox is doing is what PlayStation did. PlayStation did that for 3 years and failed miserably. Okay? Did an absolute terrible job marketing it. The cloud was terrible. The lag was atrocious for most games that weren't turn-based. The game catalog was fine. Being on all screens and all that things, everything that Xbox is doing is literally a one-for-one play from PlayStation's book. But here's the dope part for the people that need to hear it. Xbox made it who they are, and so therefore they made it better. Sony copied them with doing downloading games. Thank you, Xbox. Thank you, Game Pass. And they also, as they did the revamp, followed them with day and date games, at least with the indies. And that's all I ever wanted day and date, was like the indie games that I would probably buy, but now I don't necessarily have to. I can play them, and if I truly enjoy them, I do still buy them. And if I don't enjoy it, I can be like, oh, thank goodness I didn't spend no money on that. I don't need that for the big games. You know what I'm saying? I can wait for the bigger games. If it's like a game that I'm like, oh, we'll see. I'll wait till it comes. If it does come, and if it doesn't, then I'll buy it when it's like $10, where I'm going to feel like I'm taking an L, right? So I'm not mad at that. Game Pass did a better job, and they made it popular. They made it popular. That's it. That's why a lot of y'all believe that Sony's copying. No, Xbox is copying. They took everything Sony was doing and just made it who they were. That's fine. That's fine. No arguments. From me, at least. You'll argue all day. You're getting your feelings about that. This is what the facts are. So with that being the case, Sony is now just experimenting. They're trying to do this online thing. They're not good at it. They've never really been good at multiplayer, but they've always had a ton of multiplayers. For those that don't know, they've always had a ton of multiplayers in all kinds of different fields and genre. SingStar, Little Big Planet. I can go on and on for days of all the different type of multiplayers they have, first-person shooters, and all that. Mag, that's them. All that stuff. 256 players on the PlayStation 3, I think it was. Like, that didn't really work. They were too early for their own good, as they typically, are. And just so you know, PlayStation Now and that whole concept was not created by PlayStation. I understand that, but they brought it to the console market. They were the first. Prominent company. So yeah, Jim Ryan, man, PlayStation has been failing miserably when they fail, and they've been successful greatly when they succeed. Played Spider-Man 2, success. Ragnarok, success. Horizon Forbidden West, success. Returnal, success. Ratchet and Clank, success. Astrobot, success. Like, they've been killing the game with the games they had. Demon Souls, success. Miles Morales, success. All of these games have been success the way Sony needed them to be successes. That doesn't mean they all sold 20 million copies. But most of them all sold 10 million. Ratchet and Clank, like 1 or 2 million is about what they usually sell with that game, period. And it doesn't cost them to make that game. It doesn't cost a lot for them to make that game, so that's a success. Returnal did not cost a lot. That was a success. The second party deals, third party deals, success. For all the people that's like, oh, Sony's money hat. And I said in my last video, that doesn't make sense. And again, this is a dumb narrative because Xbox is still money hatting. They just don't do the games you care about. That's just all it is. Stalker is a money hat. Indiana Jones is a money hat. Medium was a money hat. Ascent was a money hat. Third Extinction was a money hat. You know what also is a money hat? Even though it's not exclusive, getting it in Game Pass is a money hat, good sir. They have to pay for that, meaning they have to pay to get that in their service. And we've seen the prices, extensive amounts of money to get it day and date in their service, just so they can say, hey, if you come over on Xbox's side, you don't have to pay for it because we already did. While Sony, you have to pay for it. Ain't that one of y'all things? You gotta pay $70 and I get it for free? When you don't get it for free, you get it for $20 a month. There's no here or there. Do you see what I'm saying? So money hatting, Xbox is just doing it in a different way. They're doing more indies and double A's because it costs them less. And the reason they don't money hat the big games is because the big games, everything they money hat has to go in Game Pass because that's who they are. That's their identity. And the bigger games cost them way too much money to continuously do the money hats. They can pay for it, but they don't want to. It is what it is. So Microsoft money hats, Nintendo money hats, everybody still money hats. What are you talking about? Sony just does the best money hat because they kept themselves in a position to do the best money hats. Nintendo would do the same thing, but they don't have a console that could run Grand Theft Auto or Space Marines or any of these games. So Sony is in the best space. We sell your games at a high clip. That's why everybody's willing to do these money hat deals. But now these companies are going, we want more money because these games are now at the same prices as Sony games. 100 million, 200 million, 90 million, 300 million. They're at that same price. So they're going, yeah, this deal with Sony was cool and it worked. But I feel like if we on Xbox and PC and everything all at the same time, we'll make more money. Some of them are finding out not so much. Your games just aren't that good to garner the crowd you think you're going to get. And some of them are like, no, thank you. I'm glad I did that. It is what it is. Sony has definitely not, like I said, I've been absolutely happy with my PlayStation 5. The quality of life things have absolutely been astonishing and absolutely a reason to have a PlayStation 5, but I've not been excited. I haven't seen a Matrix type game yet. Horizon Forbidden West was the beginning. It wasn't the ending. Death Stranding 2 looks incredible for sure. I just don't care about it. I've said this plenty of times. So I'm ready to see the games, man. I'm ready to see Wolverine thoroughly. That's gonna make me lose my mind. Ready to see and play Wolverine. I'm ready to see whatever Cory Barlog is working on. I'm ready to see the Naughty Dog games. They got several games in the work. They cut the online one. You know, online one took a lot of their time to probably slow down the single player process, but the process of the single player games, I think they got like 2 or 3, have been in the works. But I think they had a lot of their forces on the online game, so they were in their works at a very slow pace. Now, with the online game being gone, they can pick up the pace on all 3 games, and they'll probably come out one behind the other, whatever. Same thing with Santa Monica. You know they're working on God of War. You know they're working on the new game. And then all the other studios that they have. You know what I'm saying? It's time for Sony to start dropping some bombs and getting everybody excited about their new IPs. That's what I want to see. The sequels don't bother me. I love the sequels. The remasters don't bother me. They're pulling in Nintendo. They're evolving. They're copying. They're copying Nintendo. Nintendo are the kings of remasters and remakes. Kings of Sony remasters and remakes at full price. And Sony just trying to see how far they can get away with it. Sony's copying Xbox with more hardware. I'm appreciative to Xbox on that one. At least the color schemes. I don't really care about anything else. But the color schemes, thank you, Xbox. Because they always had the best controller color schemes and all that stuff. I always envied Xbox fans about that. Always made fun of them, though, because it seemed like they always got more controller variants than games that people wanted to play, or especially me. So, yes, that was a joke that I made. But I can be honest and tell you, boy, I always wish Sony had, like, the whole Nike make your own controller shoe thing that Nike and Xbox kind of follow with that with their controllers. And they don't, but I'm just so happy they're coming out with more plates and colors for controllers. And I don't mind the hardware. I don't mind the hardware. I love the Portal. Don't care about VR. I'll eventually get it one day. And then, like, there's a bunch of games that I really want to try, but nothing that's like, I have to have that now besides that Batman game. And that's not even like I have to have that now. And it's like, okay, I'll play it definitely when I give VR a chance. That Gran Turismo with that Pro, though, that wasn't pretty impressive. That joint was mad dope. Still not enough for me to get it. You know, I was a big iToy person, like huge, and that just never took off. So, you know, I won't get any of the cameras or anything, or don't care about the earbuds and all that stuff. So, you know, that's cool for the people that want it, but I'm just not one of them, right? Kind of went all over the place. Hopefully, you know, y'all not lost or upset. You can get my point. Basically, Sony has been experimenting and copying and trying stuff. They're not copying Xbox with the cloud. They're not copying Xbox with the PlayStation Now, plus none of that stuff. That they're revamped and they copied some of the features of Game Pass for sure, 100%. But the whole game plan, that came from Sony. Xbox just made it who they were, and they made it popular, and they did the best version. Right now, I wouldn't say that. I would say now it's just a toss-up of what you like and what you don't like. That's it. But definitely back then, it was definitely the best version. It was leaps and bounds better than PlayStation Now. So, and then PlayStation Now started catching up, but they were catching up. Now PlayStation Plus, I think, is, you can say, is better than Game Pass if that's the type of stuff you like. It just depends on the person. But most people would still agree, because of the day and date games, Xbox is the better version. It is what it is. But they are copying Xbox with day and date, sure. They are copying Xbox with selling their games on on PC, sure. They're copying Nintendo with making all these remakes and remasters, and they're going to continue that, sure. And that's not going anywhere because it's working and people are buying it, right? Whether they PlayStation fans, ponies, or just regular people are buying it. And some of them are going to dud. That happens with Nintendo. They are going back to what they already did with PlayStation Now, and they're spending that slowly but surely and getting back to what they brought to the console market first. And they're copying the best things that they think are of everybody else, but a lot of people are copying how Sony moves. You know what I mean? Like, Xbox is starting to do a lot of single-player story-based games, you know, what the Xbox community say they didn't want. You know, y'all was slicing the medium, and now all of a sudden South by Midnight you're looking forward to, and that's fine. And Sony is now trying to catch up with everybody else with the online games. They're not copying there, but they are trying to catch up. Now, what I will say is this is where the bots were correct. I do feel like they lost their identity when it comes to making these online games, because they never had an identity. How does that make sense? So what I mean is they're not trying their creative ways of just like, let's create something unique that we would do. They're like, yo, let's just do the what y'all considered woke, which is not woke. Let's do the whole like we're diversified, copying everybody else's gameplay style and being directly that without any kind of true variant. You know what I mean? The vignettes was like Apex does those for every season. And theirs was like, well, we're doing ours every week. It's like, yeah, but that's not really unique or new. It's just like you're just doing more of what somebody else does. You know what I mean? But still 5 million in 3 months. I drink, you know what I'm saying? Going still sell 5 million in the first 3 months. That was a joke, by the way. Um, but I do think that Bungie is going to be Bungie. I think they'll be successful. I think they'll hold the ground for a long time. They'll make a few mistakes. People will hate them. They will continue to do, fix it, or, and some people will come back. Some people will stay hating them. They'll make something new. People will come in droves, love it. They'll make mistakes, say some dumb stuff. People will hate it. Some people will come back. They'll fix it. Some people will come back. Some people will stay. And that's Bungie's whole MO. Marathon will be a hit. Fair Games, I think, will be a good game. I think it'll have that Sea of Thieves appeal without all the like bugs and mistakes. But I think that it'll basically, because Payday doesn't really have much in the way of competition. There are games like that, not especially not in the console market. They don't have much in the way of competition. So I think that they can take over that market. But Payday was never like the biggest thing, right? It was popular in its own facet or its own right. So Fair Games is going to be cool. I think Fair Games will have that same Payday space, maybe be a little bit bigger than Payday, to be honest. So I think their online thing will come around. But I really just think they should just buy. Like, I know they won't. You know what I'm saying? I said this last video. Like, I never had a problem with Xbox buying Bethesda. I thought that was like how Sony bought Insomniac. That was a match made in heaven. I always felt like Bethesda was Xbox's best friend. They may have sold more on PlayStation, but I've always thought ZeniMax and Bethesda was Xbox's best friend. Never complained about that. Neither did Sony. Sony did not care. When they bought Activision and Blizzard, I don't care about their games. So besides Diablo, I was like, that kind of sucks. I like Diablo, but I wasn't like tripping. I really wasn't. And so with that being the case, I was just like, I'm not happy about it because it's like one of the bigger publishers, but because I know a lot of people like this games, especially Call of Duty, and that's one of Sony's biggest money makers. If that hurts them making their first person games, or if like this severely, that's where I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. But I was never against it. And when they bought them, I was cool. I was never cool with Xbox being like they're going to buy more. And Phil just reiterated that recently. We're going to buy more. They're trying to become the biggest publisher. They're trying to make Game Pass legit. And they figure the more they buy, the more they can put more games in there day and date. The more they can try to start still trying to change the battlefield because they haven't been able to do that yet. And that's where I was worried. So I was like, Sony buy Take-Two. And I still hold to that. They're not going to. That is way smarter than Katakawa. Well, not really. Katakawa is a really good deal because I love anime and stuff, but it would have been a great deal with Katakawa. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been if they could do both, right? And Sony can get Take-Two, but they're going to have to wait a year or two, for their money to balance back out and all that stuff. And they would probably need some loans. They had to do some, for dangling for sure. I didn't say that, but they can make this happen. They can buy two publishers if they want, but they're gonna be in the red, like in the negative. It's gonna be bad. There's gonna be all kinds of things that would cause issues. But I just always felt like they should buy Take-Two because, like I said in the previous video, look, it just made the most sense to me. You get Grand Theft Auto, so they got Call of Duty. You got Grand Theft Auto. You got two of the biggest live service games, and you ain't have to work for it. Now you also have 2K. So now you have two huge live service games, two of the biggest live service games in the world. And then you got WWE 2K, which is a good live service game within that frame of like, I don't know, one of those live services that's not as big as Grand Theft Auto and 2K. And then you just got a bunch of single player studios that fit within your thing. Borderlands fits your PlayStation narrative, and it's a shooter because you need more shooters, right? I don't care, but you need more. You have like Civilization. So you got like a kind of RTS, Age of Empire type of game, which you should have, right? And it adds more variety to your space, to Sony space, because I'm like, well, if Xbox is gonna buy Sega and two or three more publishers and a bunch of other smaller studios, you need to make a major move that's going to be prominent for PlayStation. And I don't think you should buy anything else besides 2K or Bandai Namco, because then that gets them all the cell phone monetization games that Bandai Namco could be killing with the little Dragon Ball Sparking, and not Sparking, Dragon Ball uh, Legends and all that other stuff, and all them cell phone games they got that they making hand over fist money. That's Bandai's like mad go to. Plus, you still have, now you have all the anime games that can go really well with Katakawa. You see what I'm saying? And now you got like the anime gaming on lock and the anime world on lock. Kind of a super dub, right? Granted, you're paying licensing fees and all that stuff. You got to deal with all that stuff you do with Spider-Man, but deal with it. You're still getting a lot of microtransaction games, a lot of good games with a lot of DLC that people pay for, and you're getting the cell phone market on lock. You kind of like cheating your way. Like, who cares? Xbox is going to continue to do it. You might as well catch up. 2K for the big AAA space. They got American art. They got the studios that make like Borderlands and the Fallout type first-person shooter RPGs while also having shooters. You got Civilization. You got a whole rack of stuff over there. Racing games and stuff like that. Arcade racing games, which you need. Like your own specific arcade racing games. You got the Sims on lock. I don't care what nobody say about Forza. Forza is an amazing game, but Forza Horizon is not the sim game. Motorsport doesn't compare to Gran Turismo, because that's its actual competition. Horizon is a great racer, but it's arcadey as fuck. It's semi-arcadey. It's not complete sim. So yeah, Motorsport can't fuck with Gran Turismo. Period. And if you say Forza Horizon is better, that's fine. It's more of an arcade fun thing that more people would enjoy over a simulator. So yeah, I just thought that was the case. But I figured Sony's probably not going to do that, especially if they buy Katakawa. But I think after they buy Katakawa, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. It's not going to cost them an arm and a leg. They can buy them up front. It's no worse than Bungie. And with that being the case, I think they would be able to buy CD. Like for me, if you're going to buy Katakawa, I think you also should buy CD Projekt Red if they were willing to do it. You should buy the people that make Helldivers 2. You should buy Larian Studios. And like studios like that, where they kind of like in that Bungie space, where they kind of got some publishing power. They make some massive AAA games that resonate with people. So then you got the Elden Ring, you got the CD Projekt Red, who you probably want to give some more people so they can make Cyberpunk and Witcher at the same time. So you get an open world gamey type game that people love from The Witcher, but you get the first person shooters, which you need. Like, you really need some of your own first person shooters, and they don't have to be multiplayer. That Cyberpunk single player mode is dope. And you get the Larian Studios for the American RPGs, because you need those two. Those XCOMs, Divinity, Original Sin, Baldur's Tale, Baldur's Gate, you need those. You need some variety so that your studios don't have to learn to make those. And then you got Katakawa, and Acquire and Spike Turn can do the Dragon Ball. You can get you some fighters that you can put to your fighting tournament thing that you have. I can't even think of the name. And then you can also you can get your fighters, right? They the ones who developed those fighters. Sparkin was their last game that they developed, right? So you can get, some of your license from Katakawa and have them make your own games or whatever. Or you can do the license with Dragon Ball. I don't know, just you can make your own fighters now. You can make they make the Mario and Luigi RPGs and Spike Churn. So like you got two studios that don't nobody know about that usually make games for other people, and you can kind of let them do their own original work, or you can still get some licenses for them to work on. That puts some more variety in your pocket. And then you got one of the bigger games in the Soul series, which ain't going nowhere. That thing's gonna be popular like Call of Duty forever. They got a huge fan base. They ain't going nowhere. Well, not forever, but for a very ostensibly long time. So yeah, that's where I was at. Like Microsoft, like Phil coming out being like, "Yo, I want to buy." I'm like, Sony, You are trying a bunch of stuff. You made some terrible purchases and you made some really good ones. Valkyrie, the other studio that's a support studio. I don't know if I said that in this video already. I've been talking for a while, but just in case I didn't, Sony has done a phenomenal job of buying support studios. People don't care about that in the background, but XDev, who is now making a game, but still they're like 1,700 deep. So they literally are the ninja squad that goes out and knows all the engines, Unreal, the other big engine that's like Unreal. They know all the PlayStation Studios things, and so that Sony doesn't have to outsource everybody and everything. They have the XDev team and everybody's different studios, even their partners. At 1,700 can't do everybody, so they have to still outsource, right? But then they got Valkyrie. Valkyrie goes out and does all the support stuff too. Those were really great decisions that nobody's going to care about. Really great purchases. Valkyrie and the other support studio. And now they made the Bungie support studio. Smart. So if I repeated myself, I'm sorry, but that's just where I'm at. Like, I just had a lot on my mind and I just wanted to talk about it. So if I repeated anything, I apologize. I'm about to wrap this up. But yeah, Sony has been really, really spinning on the coin, both bad and good. It's just constantly spinning. It hasn't fallen yet. I won't fall to the generations over to see if it works or don't work. I think they're doing a good job with what's working, and I think they're doing a terrible job with most of their experiments, which I've been failing at this current juncture. Oh, okay, my bad. Not all of it. Not all of it. Astrobot was a success. Returnal was a success. The Portal was a success. The VR, not so much. That was not a dud, but that was middling. Lego Horizon was a dud. Concord was an absolute failure. And we're still waiting for them to get in the gear. You know, the PlayStation 30th anniversary was dope, but I wish they would have mass produced the gray. Sucks that they didn't. PlayStation Plus has been fine, middling, but they're not putting all they haven't, firmly placed themselves in that space, but they're getting back to what they started, what they brought to the console market between the major publishers. I mean, the major console makers. Jim Ryan definitely was pushed out, and he was, he was good that he said he was retired, because it was like, yeah, we was about to fire you. You know what I'm saying? So he made some dumb decisions, made some good decisions. And PlayStation is in an experimental space. I definitely think they need to go ahead and just get this Cowder Cowardry out the way. They definitely need to buy the Helldivers team for sure. And go ahead and get, if they can, just really press and like overpay for CD Projekt Red. Just the same way they did with Destiny. I think they're worth it. That's just my opinion. And I do think they need to try to pick up Larian Studios. Don't overpay for them, but try to pick them up. I know both of them said they don't want to be, but like, keep sending out flyers, because you're going to need it. Because Microsoft, with Donald Trump in office, is going to be able to buy more publishers. And I'm fine with that. I'll just play the games if they get any studio I like. If they buy Take-Two, I'll just play it on the Xbox. That's fine. I doubt they'll be able to get Take-Two, because Phil said he wants more publishers, but he said it'll probably be smaller for now. Even with Donald Trump, I think he understands that. I think their next true, who they've been making a really great relationship with and moving mountains with, is Sega. I think they have an amazing relationship with Sega, and I think that'll be the next publisher they get. But until then, I think there will probably be Axon and courting CD Projekt Red or Larian Studios, or the people I'm telling Sony you might want to go get, the Helldivers team. You might end up losing them, and you're going to look stupid for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, them partnerships is cool, but you really need to get into starting. You're going to have to buy. You may not want to, but you're going to have to. And I want to be able to still play on my PlayStation. That's where I prefer to play. I'll move to Xbox if I have to, 100%. Move to Nintendo if I have to. If I got to go to PC, I'm going to be so begrudging to do so. I say this every time. The little bit of hair I got left, I'm going to want to rip out. The little bit of black I got left in my beard, I'm going to want to rip out. You know what I'm saying? Because I got like 4 or 5 grays now, and to me, that's a lot. So the little bit of black I got left in my beard, the little bit of hair I got left, I'm going to want to rip out. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm gonna go, but it's gonna be like kicking and screaming like the worst and baddest child. I can move to Xbox with no problem. I can move to Nintendo with no problem. Whoever takes the crown gets the games I want to get, I can do. Now I just prefer PlayStation. I just been doing it since PlayStation 1. Like I've been on this system. They've basically supplied me with the most turn-based RPGs, Japanese RPGs being 1A, American RPGs being 1B. XCOM, Divinity Original Sin, uh, Legend of Dragoon, Xenogears, Legend of Legaia, Legend of Lagoon. Like I can go on and on. The Mana series, Final Fantasies, the best one 7, the second best one 9, Final Fantasy Tactics, like uh a lot of these are exclusives, like even Grand Blue Fantasy, right? It's an action game, you know what I'm saying? But I thoroughly enjoy that, right? The RPG elements. They just make a lot of the third party exclusive deals that I love. That's why I've been a PlayStation fan. Sports comes on everything. Call of Duty comes on everything. And I'll just say this for people that say you don't buy a console for exclusives, how do you discern? I'm asking. Because that statement makes no sense. And you truly believe you don't buy a console because you go, oh, well, most people just play Call of Duty. Yes, but how do you choose what console you want to play Call of Duty on? Well, it's not exclusive to where your friends are. Then you would be right. Excuse me. It would be right. That's not exclusive games. And it's still exclusively where your friends are. It's still something exclusive about it. But typically people usually go, well, it's these exclusive games that I'm probably not even going to play, but if I wanted to, I can try. Or that I play 4 or 5 games besides Call of Duty a year, and I need to play the games that come. I want to play where the games that I want to play that's exclusively over here. Because as I said, Money Hat Xbox still does. They still do. Again, I'll repeat this. I'm not sure if I said this as well. Xbox Money Hats, Stalker, Indiana Jones, that's money hatting. Medium, Ascent, Third Extinction, that's money hatting. Dusk Falls, that's money hatting. They also have their own exclusives. Those aren't money hatting, but they're exclusives. Tom, they're not. They're still exclusives. They kept off of PlayStation, right? They're not your all friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They ain't on Nintendo. They ain't on PlayStation. They just come on PC day and day. That don't help me as a person that plays on Nintendo and PlayStation. So just buy an Xbox, right? Now, okay. So if you can say that, then you understand why Sony has exclusives. With that being the case, and then Microsoft also money hats in a different way that is not so conducive for Sony. What do you mean? Getting Persona 6 or Metaphor on Game Pass day and date when it came out, that's not money hatting? Did we not see the prices they have to pay to get those games day and date? They just don't do it often. The day and date games that they money hat, or the games that they money hat, are usually indies or double A's because they're cheaper. And so they money hat all the time. They just don't money hat games that you really give a fuck about. They're not going to money hat Harry Potter. Why? Because they don't just do exclusives on the systems to sell. Everything that they are is Game Pass. So if it doesn't go into Game Pass, then it doesn't matter. That's why the money hatting went away in the facet of big AAA games that you really want to try. They got a few here and there, but most of them are going to be AA indie games that you didn't even know if you wanted to play or not, but cool, it's in Game Pass, so I'll try it. Just understand that. Just understand that. Game Pass killed your money hat and where they can get Final Fantasy 16, and then PlayStation has to fight to get Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and where they can get Grand Blue Fantasy, and PlayStation got to fight for Stellar Blade. You see what I'm saying? Like, that fight is gone because of Game Pass. That's a fact. Because they only do exclusives with Game Pass. But they do give you from time to time, like I said, Metaphor Retazio, because their relationship with Sega is now crazy. They have put a lot of work into Sega. I guarantee you that's their next publisher. I don't know what small studios they're going to buy, but that's their next publisher. With that, I've been on here for about an hour now, 54 minutes. Jeez. That's a lot. Regardless, I had a blast. Hopefully, everybody's able to follow along. Hopefully, you got a lot to say about any point that I had on there. And I'm out.